supporting many projects. It's not only one project. And this is actually
Recently, the Ministry of Natural Resources and Environment, MONRE, and the Department of Natural Resources and Environment, DONRE, of Ho Chi Minh City and Japan International Cooperation Agency, JICA, organized the workshop of the JICA's Technical Cooperation Project on support the planning and the implementation of nationally appropriate mitigation actions, Spi-Nama, in Hanoi City. At the workshop, Ho Chi Minh, DONRE, and Japanese expert team reported the results of their technical work conducted in 2018 under the Ho Chi Minh City component. Within the scope of Spi-Nama, since early 2018, JICA has provided further cooperation with Ho Chi Minh City as a pilot leading city of Vietnam. The project supported to prepare for a new CCAP for the period post-2020, focusing on building energy efficiency, strengthen the capacity of the city for GHG inventory development, and consider potentials for low-carbon technology application in transport subsector.
Welcome to this edition of Sharing Vietnam on VT's Sustainability channel. Climate change is a pressing issue on a global scale. That's why many projects have been implemented around the world in the hope of mitigating its impacts, including the Spi-Nama project conducted by JICA in Vietnam. So today, please join me in welcoming Mr. Makoto Kato, team leader of Spi-Nama project, in order to learn more about its efforts to reduce emissions in Vietnam. Hello, Mr. Makoto Kato. Thank you for joining us today. As the team leader of this Spi-Nama project, could you please brief through the initial achievements of the low-carbon technology assessment in Vietnam in 2018?
Thank you very much. Building upon the result of 2017, the activity of 2018 actually went up further to the feasibility study of the introduction of low-carbon technology or decarbonizing technology in a subsector. This is one. Also, we explored the possibility of expanding these activities into a city level, and Ho Chi Minh City was selected as a pilot city. So this is what we have done in 2018.
Previously, one of the difficulties facing the Spi-Nama project in Vietnam was raising public awareness of reducing emissions from daily life. So how this problem been addressed, and what are the difficulties for the time being?
Indeed, for the public awareness raising and also the attention by the society, but business, private sector, these are all challenging in the country of Vietnam to address climate change. However, through our activities, we have conducted a series of dialogues with the private sectors. For example, in the business community, hotel industries, they are interested in strengthening their work on building energy efficiency in Ho Chi Minh cities. Also, with the seaport companies, we have conducted we provided the tangible potential benefits in terms of greenhouse gas emission reduction, as well as the business profitability of introduction of greenhouse gas technologies. So this is something we can see as a powerful tool to address climate change issues and awareness raising.
How can the results of low-carbon technology assessment contribute to Vietnam's NDC in the short term and in the long term?
I think in the short term, this is something we are providing very good, better options for businesses and governments and ministries, and also local governments as well. And I think with the reference to the result of low-carbon technology assessment, they can choose which technologies are suitable for their greenhouse gas emission reduction. But in long term, I think low-carbon technology introduction also contribute to their policy goals, also increasing business profitabilities and competitiveness. I think this all contribute to the achievement of sustainable development goal of the country of Vietnam.
As far as I know, the Spi-Nama project was implemented in Ho Chi Minh City. So, in your opinion, how successful will it be if it continues to be implemented in Hanoi or other cities of Vietnam? And could you please make a comparison in the level of pollution between Hanoi and Ho Chi Minh City?
I think that's a very important point. What we see as Ho Chi Minh as a pilot city, they are really proactive in strengthening for climate change action plan. Currently, what they have is the action plan without any commitment or the emission reduction target. But now Ho Chi Minh City is preparing for the future climate change action plan coming from the response to the national policies. So I think in that sense for Ho Chi Minh is very successful in advancing their work. And then I think this applies also to big cities like Hanoi and Da Nang, Haiphong, and other big cities in the country. Because in the future, those big cities are expected to introduce and strengthen their own climate change action plan with targets. So I think this is a very good example for other cities as well, how Ho Chi Minh has done successfully. I think the Ho Chi Minh as the largest commercial city in the country, of course emission growth is larger than Hanoi. However, Hanoi also has a pretty big emitting city of greenhouse gases, especially for the commercial buildings and also the residential sectors as well as production sectors. I think there are all sorts of emission, and then thanks to the economic prosperity of this country, Hanoi also probably increases emission. So in this case, I think the government and JICA are pretty keen on minimizing their pollution while maximizing their sustainable development.
According to a report by JICA, the activities in Ho Chi Minh City during 2018 contributed to preparation for the upstream policy in the local context and provided practical lessons learned for further materializing its policy goals. For example, the joint study conducted by Ho Chi Minh City and the JICA team identified a large GHG mitigation potentials by building energy efficiency in buildings and recommended further actions to formulate policy instruments with reference to good practices of Tokyo metropolitan government.
JICA has been very active on supporting the climate change actions in Vietnam. First of all, we have been providing so-called climate change program loan for Vietnam, where we support the policy consultation on climate change among major ministries and agencies in Vietnam. And right now we are conducting a technical assistance project called Spi-Nama, where we support Ministry of Natural Resources and Environment in the development of so-called roadmap decree on the greenhouse gas emission reduction in Vietnam. And at the same time, we also work with the Ho Chi Minh City as a pilot site within this cooperation project. In the Ho Chi Minh City, we are supporting to enable the city to enhance the city's action plan against climate change.
Support for developing city-level inventory with quality assurance by the project provides a sound scientific evidence for establishing a mitigation target in future Ho Chi Minh City. Also, feasibility study in support proved potentials of GHG reduction and economic benefits and provided a framework of monitoring, reporting and verification (MRV) to be replicated in other subsectors.
Trong thời gian tới thì tổ chức JICA cũng sẽ tiếp tục trong cái khuôn khổ dự án Spi-Nama thì họ cũng tiếp tục hỗ trợ cho Việt Nam để mà xây dựng thể chế, bao gồm là cái thông tư hướng dẫn, rồi là các cái quy định hướng dẫn để mà thực hiện cái nghị định lộ trình phương thức giảm phát thải khí nhà kính, và đồng thời là các cái hoạt động triển khai để làm giảm phát thải khí nhà kính ở cấp trung ương và cấp tỉnh thành phố. Đặc biệt là thí điểm ở thành phố Hồ Chí Minh. Sắp tới là Ủy ban nhân dân thành phố sẽ ban hành một cái quy định về cái MRV tức là cái hệ thống đo đạc báo cáo thẩm tra của cấp thành phố và cái kiểm kê khí nhà kính. Mà bản thân thành phố Hồ Chí Minh đã tham gia rất tích cực trong cái việc mà thực hiện cái công tác giảm phát thải. Thì thành phố Hồ Chí Minh là cũng thực hiện kiểm kê khí nhà kính là 2 năm một lần, tuân thủ đúng theo quy định quốc tế, và của quốc gia Việt Nam cũng làm 2 năm một lần.
According to JICA, the work plan for 2019 activities will focus on estimating future GHG emission trend, business as a usual BAU scenario, and emission reduction potential in Ho Chi Minh City by applying the Asia-Pacific Integrated Model (IAM), which was developed by Japanese research institutions and universities, determining priority mitigation programs and actions and analyzing policy options to promote the programs and actions on GHG emissions mitigation.
As you know, the development of the manufacturing industry is sometimes associated with the high greenhouse gas and carbon emissions. So in your opinion, what should the government of Vietnam do to, reduce emissions and at the same time still maintaining the growth of the manufacturing industry?
I think what the government of Vietnam can do is providing a ground design and also the strong signal and vision to the future low carbon or decarbonized society. And then also the private sector, I think they're not necessarily against or opposing the low carbon, or they're rather exploring the possibility and also future benefits. So I think what they can do as the government is to send a strong signal and then also vision where private sector can see the ground design of the future sustainable society.
What is the role of the private sector in the Spi-Nama project?
We have extended the cooperation with private sector people, and then they are quite flexible. For example, as I mentioned in the building energy sectors, we have worked with the hotel industry, also building owners, and then they actually advise us and also the local governments how they can shape up, how the local governments and JICA can jointly shape up the regulatory framework, also incentives, disincentives, all the mechanisms that promotes greenhouse gas emission reduction. So I think their voice are extremely important for us to future work on climate change.
Last question. What are your expectations about the success of the Spi-Nama project in Vietnam?
Well, in the end of, this is going to be the final year, and then also until the end of January 2020, we are actually elaborating everything for the success Spi-Nama project, and then this is actually a very strong input for the government of Vietnam to start for the implementation of nationally determined contribution, or NDC, in the Paris Agreement. So I hope our efforts can be a good reference, and also we can continue our work with the government and people of Vietnam.
Thank you, Mr. Makoto Kato, for all of your sharing today.
Thank you very much.
We expect to see more of the encouraging results of the Spi-Nama project in Vietnam, and we believe that with the wholehearted support of JICA, Vietnam will be less impacted by climate change. That's all for this episode of Sharing Vietnam today. If you have any question, please email sharingvietnam@netvietv.net. Thank you for watching, and goodbye for now.